What's good, everyone? Infamous Legacy here, back at it again with another Marvel's Avengers gear guide video. In this gear guide video, I'll be taking a look at Miss Marvel, also known as Kamela, and her Discordant gear set that you guys can get from either the regular raid, the Discordant Sound Elite raid, or even the Corrupted Vibranium event. So let's go ahead and get this started and showcase to you guys what are the best gear pieces to aim for when it comes to building up your Miss Marvel. Before I start breaking down the gear pieces, like always, I want to mention a minor artifact that you guys should aim for from the regular raid, the elite raid, and the Corrupted Vibranium event. Nornstone of the Vanguard. This comes with a faultless vibranium payload and a lethal vibranium conduit. So the lethal vibranium conduit, when you're defeating an enemy with a vibranium status effect, it sends an active sonic conduit buff to all heroes, and then all those heroes are considered sonic conduit receivers, and this also includes yourself. And the stats you want to make sure you can get on this is Might and Valor and Proficiency if you're a melee Miss Marvel build, because the faultless vibranium payload only works with melee critical attacks. Now the heroic piece. So the heroic piece from the Discordant gear set is really not that great for Miss Marvel, but if I do have to tell you guys one heroic piece to really farm for, you could try and get this heroic piece from the regular raid, Corrupted Vibranium event, or even the elite raid. It has Receiving Polymorph Breaker. That's the only perk I'm going to focus on. Reason being is when you're receiving that sonic conduit buff, your polymorph, which is your intrinsic ability, that damage is increased by 45%. So if we go to skills, here is your intrinsic ability polymorph. It's just holding down that right trigger and you're using up your intrinsic energy. And if you're attacking while you're in this polymorph state, your damage will be increased by 45% as long as you receive that sonic conduit buff. So that is one heroic piece that I would recommend to try and get a perk like that for. You can also get another perk on this from the elite raid, and that would be Mighty Spirit. Adds a damage buff to team members affected by your support heroic ability, Team Spirit, and increases their damage and also yourself by 20%. So you can actually get Mighty Spirit instead of the Vibranium Scream Shock Leak on your heroic piece. So if there is that heroic piece, I do want to recommend to you guys, run the elite raid, because I feel like the Mighty Spirit perk only drops from there. You guys can try and see if it drops from the regular raid or the Corrupted Vibranium event, but my experience has been the Mighty Spirit perk only drops from the elite raid. And if you can get it also with the Receiving Polymorph Breaker with Might and Valor if you're a melee build, it's definitely a win with the heroic piece. Moving on to the defensive slot. So the defensive slot, like all the other heroes in the game with the Discordant gear set, Reverberation Breaker is a key perk that you want to make sure you can get, because this will inflict 25% additional damage to any enemies afflicted by a Vibranium status effect. So whether it's your teammates, hitting enemies with Vibranium status effect, if you're also attacking those enemies with the Vibranium status effect, you'll be able to do 25% additional damage. So this is really a must perk that you must have on your defensive slot. The Reverberation Breaker can actually come from the regular raid or the elite Discordant Sound raid or even the Corrupted Vibranium event. The version I have here came from the elite raid because of the third perk, Lethal Polymorph Restoration, 15% chance to generate a regeneration pack when defeating enemies while you're in your intrinsic ability. That third perk is whatever, it's not really that important to really pay attention to. Reverberation Breaker is what you really need. And if you're a range build, Precision and Valor, melee build, Valor and Might. Now with the range piece. So with the range piece, this is probably the best gear piece to really farm for from Miss Marvel's Discordant gear set. And you can get this from the Discordant Sound regular raid, elite raid, or the Corrupted Vibranium event. I have this with Might and Valor, obviously because of my melee build. Faultless buff is the only perk I need you guys to pay attention to, because there is a 23% chance when you're doing a melee critical attack, it will grant you a damage buff. So this is really good for a melee build. And a lot of heroes in the game, or basically every hero in the game, could get the Thoughtless buff as the third perk on their range slot from the Discordant gear set. And it's really useful for melee builds because you're saving something that might be useful on your melee slot, but it's put on your range slot. So Thoughtless buff on a range slot with these type of stats is great for a melee build. And with the melee and range build, the only statuses you guys can get is Sonic and Vibranium. So keep that in mind. And if there is a range Miss Marvel piece that you guys do want to try and get, you guys can probably try and get something with a pinpoint Vibranium payload. All heroes also in the game can get a pinpoint Vibranium payload on the ranged piece from the Discordant gear set as well. And there are other perks too, for example, for a melee build. However, it's not as good as the Thoughtless buff. So an example is from the Elite Raid. I got this with Polymorph Final Breaker. Increased damage from all combo finishers while you're in your intrinsic ability. And that damage is increased by 25%. And again, that's only your combo finishers. And then you also have something that relates to your ultimate heroic ability called Embiggen Breaker. So maybe for an Embiggen build, this will increase the damage by 15% when you're in that Embiggen state. So these are some pretty good melee perks as well as a third perks. However, the Thoughtless buff will activate a damage buff, which will increase your damage output much more than these things right here. Alright, now moving on to the melee slot. So the last gear piece, you guys can get different types of perks with this as well. Grab Breakers may be useful for a hybrid or range build. You guys can get this gear piece with the Vibranium or Sonic status effect as well, similar to the range. And you can also possibly get Precision, Might, and Valor for hybrid, or Precision and Valor for range, or just Might and Valor. Grab Breaker, increased damage dealt by grab attacks by 50%. I got this from the Elite Raid. And it also comes with Lethal Polymorph Restoration, which is similar to the defensive slot perk I got from the Elite Raid. But again, that's not really important because the third perk, you are healing your teammates and yourself anyways. The regeneration packs, it's not, that crazy. If you want to have it, you can have it, because there's nothing really else that you can put as a third perk from this gear set for Miss Marvel. So make sure you guys try and get some gear perks that actually will be useful to you. But the most important thing that I will pay attention to is the second perk. Whether it's Sonic or Vibranium, light combo finishers and heavy combo finishers deal Sonic or Vibranium status effect. That's what you guys want. Make sure it always comes with light combo finishers, because light combo finishers is what you're going to be using more often than your heavy combo finishers and signature attacks. Even when you're using your ultimate heroic ability in Embiggen, you'll be doing a lot of light combo finisher attacks. So I got this from, again, the Elite Raid. However, if you just want to make sure you can get light combo finishers and heavy combo finishers with Might and Valor or Precision and Valor, depending on what build you got, the regular Raid Corrupted Vibranium event also works. And then another perk that you can also get as a first perk instead of this, Grab Breaker. I got this also from the Elite Raid, but this can also be available from the Corrupted Vibranium event and the regular Raid. Lethal Vibranium Conduit, similar to, basically the same actually, as the Lethal Vibranium Conduit on the minor artifact Nordstone of the Vanguard. So those are all the gear pieces from the Discordant gear set that you guys must farm for Miss Marvel if you are building her up, whether it's range, whether it's melee. Highly recommend a melee Miss Marvel build because you don't want to really use a range Miss Marvel build. Melee is much more fun with Miss Marvel. But now in terms of ranking these gear pieces, I would say the range piece, because of the Thoughtless buff and the stats I have on this, is the first piece to really try and go for. Second will be Reverberation Breaker on the defensive slot. Third would be the melee slot, light combo finishers try and get 2 variations of this. Make sure you have one with Sonic, one with Vibranium. Might be useful for your other builds that you haven't, planned out for Ms. Marvel. And then the last one's a heroic slot. There are much more better heroic pieces in the game, so the heroic slot's not really that important from the Discord gear set for Ms. Marvel compared to those other heroic pieces. And then the minor artifact is just mandatory, and I highly recommend for everyone who's building a melee character. But I'm not going to rank that because it's just the gear pieces. So first, second, third, fourth. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this gear guide video on Ms. Marvel's Discord gear set. If you guys do have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more Marvel's Avengers videos. Until next time, I'm out. You guys take care. Peace.